Council at 6:30. I win. Yeah.
Hi, Candace. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I know. I missed the last couple. It's nice to see everyone again.
Hi, Greg. Your lips are moving. Hi, Anna Christina. Hey, Greg, you're muted.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Greg, I was wondering, I'll have the map on my screen to share, but at some moments we might want to share the actual spreadsheets, and I was wondering if you could put that on your screen.
Sure.
Okay, and Anna Christina, notice me, I'm being so bossy. Could you take notes of during this when we go through this process of what people say, so I can make the changes or improvements or whatever?
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Yes, I think so. Let me get a pad. Let me get my pad. Where's my LSC pad?
I sent out the new map with the LSC logo
Oh, nice.
about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
I printed a couple copies here of the other, just so we have something to show.
Oh, I have it.
It's a great map, by the way. You guys have done a phenomenal job.
Yay, Greg and AC.
Very exciting. Very nice.
Greg did most of the work, but he did.
Yeah. We're a team now.
I think we're a good team.
There's lots of caveats to the map, though, but you're going to talk about that, right?
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. There shouldn't be that many caveats, but some things.
Okay. All right. What?
I want to make sure I have
All right. Don't trust my. I think I'm running out of lead. Let me go to this.
Well, before we get to Urban Heat Island, let's do our minutes for approval. That's the first item on the agenda. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm wondering why the minutes said the approval was for 4/28. What does that mean?
April 28th.
Yeah.
I'm
What does
sorry.
that mean? Friday, this Friday?
No, the minutes from April.
last month.
Oh,
It's May.
April. Oh my God. Howdy. All right, I'll take the notes. All right.
Does anybody have anything to add to the notes? Any comments? Not hearing any comments, I would like to submit that we enter the minutes for approval. All say aye.
I
Any nays? All right, so moved. The minutes are approved. Our first order of business, the Urban Heat Island effect. This is going to be a letter to City Council to discuss tonight and move towards submitting to the council at a point that we decide soon. So without further ado, Wynn, I'd like to give you the floor.
All right. We've been working on this for quite a while. Greg and Anna Christina gathered publicly available data, made some charts, gave us a beautiful map. And what I did is I wrote up a one paper, one sheet, what's the word? It's page. A one-page letter to the city council introducing it. The idea is that we would put up the map and possibly also the charts. That's to be determined. but we will be sending them the charts as well, the spreadsheets. And then we're gonna put up the map. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk through the map with the city council because it's by neighborhood and we think they'll be very interested in what's going on in their neighborhood. So what I thought I would do is I would actually read what I'm gonna talk to the city council about so you can catch things that don't make sense or what have you. And Anna Christina is gonna record that so I can make sure I get it in the next document. And then that's it. And then our ask at the end, we have an ask at the end, and it'll be time for questions from the city council. Okay, so here goes. This would be the letter we're sending to city council and what I would say at the beginning of my talk with them. The Sustainability Council monitors the enormous amount of information that is constantly coming about issues concerning climate change. We pay particular attention to issues that affect New England, that affect urban areas, or are particularly dangerous. In the past year, we have learned some disturbing facts about heat in cities. We all know that it's getting hotter. Heat waves are getting more frequent and have higher temps than they used to. Cities are hotter than surrounding areas due to the presence of impervious surfaces like asphalt and concrete, which retain heat, and the lack of tree canopy, which provides shade. What caught our attention in particular is that heat waves are much more deadly than all other extreme weather put together, and seniors who live alone are most at risk. We have provided you with a report put out last year that does a deep dive on the hows and whys of the dangers of extreme heat. Today, we want to focus on what this means for Lowell. We have two GIS experts on the council, Greg Studwell and Anna Christina Fregoso, who gathered data in a map that pinpoints hotspots in Lowell. They use public data sources that are commonly used in urban planning departments. So included in this packet is a map and spreadsheet of heat islands by neighborhood and level of heat, a chart and spreadsheet of tree canopy and impervious surfaces for each neighborhood, a spreadsheet of total heat island acreage by neighborhood, and a list of cooling solutions other than trees. Okay, this is a lot to absorb, so we thought the easiest way to explain all this was just by walking through the map, and there's a little chart on the map. If you have more questions, we'll have Greg bring up the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, that's the end of the letter. Any comments so far?
I think it sounds good. I wondered if we need to list those common data sources. Is that required? Is that something that we need to do?
We have that in the on the map, and we have it in the document, but not in the one page.
I think that's probably
we can
fine.
do that if we need.
Okay, AC, can you make sure we record that we need to put the data source in the document? Okay. Okay, let me share my screen.
And do you have the latest one from 8/16, 6/16?
No, I have the one that is the one that you sent around 3, I think. Can we use that?
It doesn't have the nice pretty logo, but yeah.
Okay, I hesitate to change because I screw up sharing all the time. And I think I figured out this particular sharing.
I can put it up if you want. Oh, okay. This is the correct one.
No, it doesn't have the beautiful logo.
The earlier one.
Oh. Here, do you want me to share?
If you want to, sure.
Okay, just stop sharing and I'll share.
Stop sharing. Okay.
Is that big, Anna?
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
Wait a minute. Which one is it sharing? Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you
can
see-
see it.
That's
Let's
weird. It's saying it on my third screen but it's over here on my first screen. I don't get it. But okay, if you can see it, that's good. Well, now I know where that stop sharing was that I couldn't find yesterday. For some reason, it's showing up on the other monitor.
Okay, so stop sharing and I'll bring up my map
Okay.
because I want to move my cursor around.
Oh, okay. Hold on. The stop share is now over here. Now I know where it was yesterday.
Okay, CAD, there we go. Okay, let me make this bigger. All right. Okay. On the the redder the area, the hotter it is. There are 5 levels of heat severity from lightest red of 1, meaning coolest, to darkest red of level 5, meaning hottest. The levels are based on what's average for a city's normal summer temperature. The level 1 for Phoenix would be higher than the one for Lowell. A current number for the average temperature of Lowell is difficult for volunteers to access, so we can't give you precise numbers for the levels, but it is commonly an increase of 1 degree for every level. We have found that not all neighborhoods are created equal. Did someone say something?
Yeah, I don't think that's true, but we can go over that.
Okay, let me get through this, but you guys write down your questions.
Sure.
Okay, so make sure you write that down, Greg. Okay, we have found that not all neighborhoods are created equal. In the chart at the bottom of the map, you can see that tree canopy ranges from 13% to 47%. It's the green bars. Impervious surface is the gray bars, and it ranges from 26% to 74% of a neighborhood. And the amount of area of a neighborhood that could be considered a heat island ranges from 17% to a whopping 99%. This is shown in the small spreadsheet we have included. Should we show that? Should we show that to the city councilors or just let them look at it on their own?
The bigger spreadsheet or the little one?
The little one.
The one with just the 3 categories.
The one that just shows basic heat island acreage.
No, I think it's too much data for them to even get.
Okay, make sure you write that down, Anna. Okay, let's take a minute to look at the small chart of heat islands in a neighborhood. Okay, I'll have to reword this if we're not going to show the chart. Okay.
We are showing the chart, like the chart that's shown now. I think
we're talking about the chart that shows the acreage of the whole heat island for each neighborhood, the smaller chart.
I mean the table.
Table.
Yeah, right.
Did you want to show that or no?
Oh yeah, I can show it.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Okay, let me see. Okay, is it this one or is it the?
It's
the other one.
Little spreadsheet on the right, on the top.
The one that says combined?
Yeah, combined, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
That shows the total acres and then the impact acres.
Right.
Okay. So, the percent heat islands, I'm sorry, are you speaking? Is someone speaking? Okay. Okay, I was looking at the other spreadsheet, but I'll try and figure this one out. Okay, so the number that we're interested is going to be on the last column. So I'm going to give you a moment to find your neighborhood. And some of you might be having a heart attack. I don't think I'll really say that. Okay. So understand that the number for each neighborhood is all the levels added together. So a neighborhood may have a larger percent of a heat island, but it may be at a 1, while another one is smaller but is a level 3. The one with the higher heat levels are the ones we are most concerned with and would like the council to address. Okay, do you want to just quickly show the heat level one?
Map.
Okay, we're not going to go. I'm talking now to the city councilors. We aren't going to go through this chart because it's hard to understand. We basically put this information on the map that we're going to show you now. Okay, let me bring up the map again. So,
Right, if you have the map, you can. Oh, well.
Stop the share. Okay, great. Okay, so let's. Sorry, guys, if you guys are getting dizzy. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's see what the map is telling us. As our eyes move around, note that by the water, it is not red at all or a very light red. For example, this shows by the Concord River, over here, by the Concord River, this would be this area. By the Concord River, it's cooler in Lower Belvedere than other spots in the neighborhood. We considered the hottest neighborhoods the ones with the most acres at the highest levels of heat. By far, the hottest neighborhood is Lower Highlands, where 99% of the total neighborhood is considered a heat island, which has no water source moderating the temperature. And from the chart we can see on down below, we can see it has low canopy and high impervious surfaces. 43% of Lower Highlands is considered a level 3 heat island. Compare this to South Lowell. It has the most canopy and the least amount of impervious surface, and most of its heat island is level 1, coming in at 32% of the neighborhood. It doesn't even have any level 4 or level 5 portions. Clearly, the moderating influences here are Donahue Park, the cemetery, and the Concord River. It has the same profile of high canopy to low impervious surface that Belvedere and Pawtucket have. While both have significant canopy, Pawtucket has considerable more, due of course to the forest. The hot spots in Pawtucketville are in the North Campus, UMass, and the University Ave corridor, where the most amount of heat is level 1 at 8.4% of the neighborhood. The hot spot in Belvedere is the Stadium Plaza and Colley Stadium. It has a similar heat profile in that level 1 takes the most amount of heat island at 8.8% of all the neighborhood. Some moderation influences and contributors to the canopy are Shed Park, the cemetery, and the fact that part of Belvedere is on a hill catching breezes. The area of the city with the most area at level 5, the hottest, is downtown. It comes in about 60%, it comes in at about 6%, with other parts of the city coming in around 2% for level 5. The heat severity of most of the heat island in downtown is at a level 4 at 14% of the total neighborhood. We can see from the chart that downtown has the smallest canopies, the fewer trees, and the most impervious surfaces. The total percentage of heat island for downtown is 90%. The cooling effect of the Merrimack is present, but yet it's also tempered some by the Concrete River Walkway. All neighborhoods have very hot spots, level 5, except for Belvedere and South Lowell. You would think that crowded Centerville would have more red, but the west side is Christian Hill, which has more canopy than east of Bridge Street. There's also a reservoir on top of the hill, and we know water is a cooling feature. In addition, there's a large field on both the east and west side of Bridge Street. And again, like parts of Belvedere, Christian Hill is higher than the rest of the city and catches breezes other parts of the city don't have. The most level of heat severity is 1 in Centerville at about 16% of the neighborhood. Centerville is 48% heat island. Okay, take a breath. The Acre is another area similar to Centerville in that parts of it are very crowded with much asphalt and pavement and few trees. It has 20% canopy and 60% impervious surfaces, and 26% is a level 3 heat island. It is likely not the worst heat island due to the moderate effect of the Merrimack River, the canal, LaLacia Park, and North Common. The Acre is a 73% heat island. Sacred Heart is a hot neighborhood and due to its bordering on the Lower Highlands and Back Central, but does have the moderating influence of the Concord River and St. Patrick's Cemetery. 70% of Sacred Heart is considered a heat island, with the hottest level being level 2 at 16% of the neighborhood. Looking at the map, you can see that the Highlands is a relatively cool neighborhood. 53% is considered a heat island, but at a low level of 1. Its moderating area is the Country Club. Lower Belvedere has almost as much impervious surface as Lower Highlands, and about the same amount I missed this. Lower Belvedere has the same surface as Lower Highlands, and about the same amount. Okay, I doubled there. I got to put in trees, canopy, something. But the area is designated as a heat island is much less at 74% versus Lower Highlands at 99%. This can be attributed to the effects of the Concord River that border it. So to conclude, we would like to ask you to remove as much heat retaining features as possible, while also putting in as many shade sources as possible. And clearly the Lower Highlands is in the most need. The best bulwark against heat islands is trees, but given the restraints in cities, we have included a list of cooling options other than trees. And in the report from last year, we also described cooling options. So are there any questions? I assume we're going to have buckets of questions. Okay, go guys. Are you still asleep? Are you awake?
We're awake, we're listening, we're following.
I'm done. I'm all done.
Mary's having trouble getting on the Zoom.
Oh.
So, could I, when.
Oh, Laura, oh, there it is, okay.
I think Carolyn's talking, but I can barely hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Now I don't hear anybody.
Okay.
I did have a quick question. When you say we ask, our ask is that they remove or add any mitigation, from the drop down list. What is in the drop down list exactly? I mean, does it have like,
No, I didn't use the phrase drop down list. I don't know what you're asking about.
the list or the options that they can choose to mitigate the issue?
Oh, that's in the options other than tree cooling.
Okay, but then when you said remove, do you mean like remove the concrete and use a lighter colored concrete or?
I'm not telling them what to remove. I'm just saying remove whatever retains heat.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
That's up to them. And in the list of cooling options, I list quite a few possible choices for that.
I think it would be
So come
helpful.
on, guys.
I think it would be helpful to like have a slide with cooling options at the end. Like a picture of a cooling station or something.
I can't hear anything.
She's asking for if we had graphics of the different types of techniques that people are using currently.
Okay, so include images of possible cooling options?
Yeah, I think I sent you some.
Yeah,
I mean, some
Okay,
are
yeah.
more in like white roofs and lighter
yeah,
color, but
yeah,
they'll
I'll do that for sure.
It's
I can do
just
that. I
something.
think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a really good idea. I thought it was a great presentation. It's a really excellent map. It's so interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to all the counselors to look at what's going on in their neighborhood. But definitely at the end of it, I found myself wondering, like, well, okay, like, well, what can we do? Like, what are the options? Like, what are some of the things? So a slide on that would be great.
Just so you know, there's like a 3-page list of options that we're sending them, but I'll definitely put in the images because I think that's good too.
And then, I may have missed this, so I apologize. But the heat severity value, how do you define that? Like, how do you define?
Trust for public land.
Yeah, the temperature for the city is taken from Landsat satellite data, and that's any surface at all. That's ground temperature, roof temperature, any surface. A mean value for the whole city is determined, and whatever areas are above that mean value is considered a heat severity area. So 1 is just a little bit above the mean value. 5 is more above the mean value.
So I think that would be really helpful to have that as like part of the sheet. So like if 1 is, and it was below the mean value, I was like, put that in.
It doesn't go by degrees. That's not how you do heat islands, really. Heat islands are, without getting too technical, because Lowell or any city in Minnesota, for example, any colder city is going to be a very different range than something like Phoenix, right? So you can have a heat island in Phoenix, even though really all year round it's the heat island. But that's not how you look at heat islands. You look at heat islands within its own sort of bucket of heat. So if you applied Lowell like ranges to Phoenix, you wouldn't get any heat islands. So really those numerical values doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the mean temperature is 68 or 72 or 75. The way this is determined is whether the temperature is greater than the average temperature for the city.
Does that make sense, Michaela?
I feel like it will be a question that people have of like, what does red, like, I get what you're saying, like 5 is like severe heat, but I think the question that I have is like, how is that measured?
Well, there's measured by
Statistics.
statistics, right? There's a statistical analysis called Jenks, natural breaks. Basically it tries to minimize the deviation within a bucket. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a range. It minimizes the deviation within that range and then tries to maximize the deviation between ranges. It's a statistical thing. If you know statistics, you might understand that. But I understand that to a layperson, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So
Like,
is it sort of like if you took you know, like a bell curve, essentially?
well, each class would have its own bell curve. Right, I mean, not necessarily, because there could be, you know, this is a range from whatever temperature, say the mean temperature is 68, and then, you know, 5 is like 78. I'm making those numbers up. But, you know, the ranges could be evenly spaced, but they're probably not. You know, so within each range, it could be a little bell curve that goes up and then down, and then a little valley there, and then there's the next bucket. But those buckets, sometimes the bucket could be this big, sometimes it's that big. It matters, like, it's more to do with the data instead of the actual number of values there.
I think it's going to be helpful to at least, if the question gets raised, to have to just kind of be able to give a plain answer, like on a 80-degree day in the summer, the areas that are that don't have any red on it is 75, 80 degrees. Whereas
Okay, wait a second. Excuse me, excuse me. We can't use those numbers. We can't use any numbers because as volunteers, we don't have access to what the median number is for Lowell.
I mean,
this is a way of explaining it to someone that doesn't really care about the numbers, but just as a way to absorb the information.
well, I don't want to, I mean, well, what I could do is take this data. There's 39,000 data points in here, but
I would start with that.
yeah,
I would say this map is based on 39,000 data points.
right. And you know, I could say that, and I can create what's called a histogram, which is you know, a way to show each value, and you can kind of see like patterns in there, and you'd be able to see like how these ranges are kind of you know, determined based on those values. It's basically like this bar chart, but much more dense. And it would have 39,000 values in there. So you're not going to see any individual value, but that might be, you know, a way to show them. But I'm just a little, I don't want to throw an actual number out there because then they're going to be like, go back to their constituency and say, the average temperature in the lower highlands is 72. Can you believe that? We got to do something about that. And I'm like, we can't, I don't want to make that determination on that number. I'd rather just avoid that altogether. I mean,
Okay, I think, I hear what Carmack and Michaela are saying. I totally agree. It's very unintuitive to not have a base number. It feels
right.
very weird, but let me finish.
Okay.
But we need to get across that information that we don't have access to that.
That's not the point that we don't have access. It's the point that urban heat islands in this particular model does not rely on a particular temperature. So even if we wanted to, we could get a number, but that number doesn't really mean anything.
So what do you think?
Okay, now I am very confused. I thought we did not have access to that
No,
number.
I could put in a FOIL request, or I could put in a request to the thing and say, you know, this data, we're doing a study for the city council. Can you give us this, you know, the base data? I don't know how long that'll take, or
I
whether.
think that if we had a sustainability count, or not a sustainability count, a sustainability department, that they should do that, because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of
It
effort.
is. This is more work. Doing that is kind of more work than our pay grade.
I mean, I think if you just said, there's 36,000 data points, and then if you just explained the range as just being relative to the median, whatever that number is,
Yeah.
that would be fine. It's just like.
Oh, okay.
define-
Yeah, right. That's what I'm, yeah, Michaela, we're saying the same thing. Yes, I agree. If we could do that and we think we can get away with saying that, where they're not gonna come back and say, no, but we want an exact number.
Right.
Okay. Did you get that, Anna Christina?
More or less, it's gonna be a little, it says, explain that we, what is it, not intuitive to have a base temperature, we cannot, have a relative to, explain that we cannot have a I wrote over the notes, so now I'm.
Okay, I think, Michaela, I think it was
Relative to-
Michaela who said to explain that the range is relative to the median, and we
Yeah,
don't
explain
have the
the
median. Excuse me?
Right, I said, yeah, that's what I have, explain that the range is relative, I've gotta get rid of the cannot.
We're dealing with relative values.
Can I make one comment? One thing I was taking out of it, taking away from it was that I know how hot I feel in my neighborhood, and I look at this map and I think, oh my God, like I'm in a cool neighborhood. Like I'm just looking at this map as like, let me look at myself relative to the other neighborhoods and try to imagine, like if I'm green and somebody's dark red, like what that means.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking from it. I don't know if that was what was intended.
Yeah, one interesting thing that if you look at the geographic pattern here, you see that I go to the Market Basket that's up on Bridge Street at the Drake line. That parking lot is dark red. Like anywhere where there's like a lot of asphalt, that's going to reflect a lot of heat and retain a lot of heat.
Yeah, that was sort of what I was looking at. So, pretty much all of the dark reds are industrial parks.
Yeah.
Like the one that's Cross Point, the one that's, not really that is the downtown area, but we know that there's very little canopy and we know that everything is paved over.
Yeah.
So I guess
If you look at the chart, I think that's why we call it contributors, because all of these things, all the pavements, the asphalts, they're all contributors to the heat island, and the green is the only contributor that actually mitigates it some, so that's why we include it as a contributor.
So I'm wondering if it might be, if it might make sense to have, just an idea, to have this map just showing, show this map and then show the next slide would be just the industrial areas, just to show, that the high severity ones are these industrial areas, and potentially spark some conversation, because this is kind of, there's one area where the city can participate in programs that are, planting trees and looking at, different things, but the major contributors are these industrial parks. Granted, there aren't many people living there.
That's why you want it as a residential area, if you want to call out the young stuff so people actually live.
Right, but the
do
thing
that.
there is kind of have overflow heat, right? In the areas that are sort of right next to it, there's going to be some it's sort of like a heater in a way. And so, there's sort of the two different areas going on. There's one where you're looking at it on the city side, and Consensus is trying to, have areas for people to go and also increase the amount of canopy. But then there's the other end where the city, I'm sure that there's many other cities that have, regulations in place where there needs to be a certain percentage of canopy to reduce the heat island effect.
Okay, let me just interrupt. My understanding is that it would be difficult to make a map what you're describing. Is that accurate, Greg?
No.
No, you can do a
So,
breakout.
yeah,
Oh,
what
okay.
you're describing is combining this data with, residential areas, like we can put zoning or whatever other criteria you want on here.
Okay.
Not that it needs to be, I'm just kind of tossing that out there as an idea if other people think that it would be beneficial as far as, so I think that one thing we're kind of doing is trying to tell a story, right? Because not all the city councilors don't necessarily have an spark interest yet in the islands.
We could map their homes.
I love that, that's a good idea, because a lot of this.
Where each one of them.
No, this is it, I love it, because this is a great map, but it's a little hard to see some points of interest. So I love that idea, let's do that.
But we're not gonna, yeah. But yes, we can put a point of interest on here if somebody wants to come up with a list of interesting points. Sure, I can put anything on there.
No, I love that, I think that's great.
But I thought it would be a good idea to bring it down home.
Excuse me, Greg, is it possible to do what Michaela's asking?
Which is what?
To put the addresses, to put pinpoints where counselors live?
Yeah, I think, I was just joking. I think that's too creepy to do that.
Yeah, I would think, if anything, you can have like the individual Pawtucketville have that, so like each one, how many neighborhoods are there?
I mean, we could
11?
have we could use the districts instead
Yeah,
of the neighborhoods. If we think that's useful.
I'm confused. Districts of neighborhoods, what is that?
No, districts instead of the neighborhoods, the voting districts.
Okay, I think putting in a new type of map would be confusing as all get out. I think
Well, no,
using-
just use
I think
that instead of the
using-
neighborhood one.
Using this map and doing what Cormac says is just maybe showing us level 5. And that would show us the industrial areas.
Actually,
We
when
want to see industrial areas, yeah.
I
when
want to see why it's level 5.
let me ask you a question about level 5 if I could, because you talked about downtown as being 6% level 5, I believe.
Yeah.
And then when we talked about the acre, it was a 73% heat island. So are we not talking about the same terms for each neighborhood?
No, we're talking about the same terms. The acre has more heat island, but it's less a lower level. It's not as hot,
It's less severe, yeah.
less severe. Thank
But
you.
I mean, when we talk neighborhood to neighborhood, I think it's important that we talk about them in the same terms, so that
Yeah, well, we
you know.
do. When you went over all the percentages of all the neighborhoods in a total urban heat island, right?
Right, but obviously I didn't do a good enough job because someone was confused, and we don't want that.
You did a great
yeah,
job.
You did a great job. I don't mean to take away from the work. You've done an excellent job.
But that's a good point because if you talk about the percentage overall of all the heat islands, just keep that consistent. If you want to point out one particularly severe neighborhood, we can talk about, like, break that out separately after you go over the overall.
Yes.
Not only is the acre, 73% heat island, there's X percent of 5 or something. It's not severe, but.
Wayne, can you pull up the actual chart too? Can we look at that? Cause there's the definition for the severity level stays the same neighborhood to neighborhood. However, there's different factors of how much concrete they have, how much trees they have. That's why this all plays together.
And also, this is by percent, so,
Right.
Right.
bigger neighborhoods are gonna have less effect because they have more areas that are not heat islands.
I think we've got one more question about the map.
I love this map, and I think it does what Candace said, which is you look at it, you see the gradient of red, and you're like, wow, either this is me or this is not, and that's really what it's supposed to do. A quick note on the data visualization, I would recommend for the urban heat island contributors in the bottom left-hand corner, considering it's not the same data or the same points that are on the red scale map, I wouldn't use the color red or green or any of the colors that we see on the right-hand side, just because I'm looking for what those things mean on the map when really that has a different color scheme. Does that
No,
make sense?
Yeah, that red is the red that you see on the map. So that bar chart for the red bar corresponds to the data on the map.
I think what I think it's
Do
Carolyn
the
talking. I
green
can't
and
really
red?
tell. I
Yes,
think I see
I
what
believe
she's
so.
saying, because
I
if we
believe so.
use this color, this particular shade red in the bar chart, it looks like we're talking about level 5 because it matches
Oh,
the
I see.
super dark parts on the rest
Yeah,
of the
that's
map. Is that what you're saying, Carolyn?
Yeah, well, I just don't know. Like when I see green in the Highlands, is that referring to canopy, or is that just referring to the lowest median level of that scale on the
Oh,
right
no,
hand
it's the
side?
canopy, yeah.
It is referring to canopy.
Yeah, there's a little legend at the bottom of that bar chart, but maybe we need to make it bigger.
No. I think what she's saying is that the on the map, the green that's on the map is showing parks, not necessarily canopy.
Oh, I see.
Two different
Okay.
data
You're
visualizations
okay.
here.
Yeah, sure. Well, we could do an auxiliary map for both the canopy and the impervious. We could put little like sort of inset maps. We have room on the bottom left there if they want to see that, because then yes, there would be no question about, we're not really talking about, we have the big map as heat islands.
Right.
And then we can have little tiny maps where they can at least see the pattern of the canopy in the city and the pattern of the impervious in the city.
Right. Or that and or include this graph, or these bar chart. Is this a bar chart? Yeah, on the left hand side, but just pick different colors. Purple, blue, and something else, just so we know it's not synced with this main chart that we're looking at, this main map.
Yeah, you can keep the red, but just put the gray and green to something
Well,
else.
if we do little inset maps on this map, if we have a little map in the corner here, like the bottom left, that's the green canopy on the map, but just smaller.
Sure.
And then have one with like dark gray, but just smaller.
I think you just want the colors changed on the chart so that they don't correspond to anything in the map. They don't confuse the two.
No. Yes, and I was just basically pointing out, Greg, I think it's a great idea to do the maps just like what we're seeing of this larger map with the data for the green and for the gray. But also, I mean, the fact that you have it in this form with the bar chart, it tells a different story. So it's not necessarily to get rid of it. It's another way to understand the severity and differences, because even if I saw that, map of the Highlands with the canopy impervious, I may not be able to say compared to South Lowell it's much higher or much lower. Do you know what I mean?
The green looks.
It allows to
in both. The green ratio looks the same in South Lowell almost in the Highlands, but the bar charts are like totally different.
Right. I think the bar charts are helpful for comparing.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get a word in edgewise here. It sounds like it would be a good idea to have another map that's really this size, so people can see it well, that's tree canopy, and then another map that's same size that has impervious surface. Do you guys like that idea?
Or if you're trying to reduce slides, if you just did a second slide that was like two smaller maps, because the big thing that we want to focus on is the heat island, right?
Yeah.
And so like we can really kind of talk about that,
Yeah, I could definitely put, I
mean-
think the interesting thing about this bar chart is you do see that there's an inverse relationship between the canopy and the
Yeah.
heat islands.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to keep together,
Right.
but I think that Carolyn's point is well taken, that like it's confusing, hey, where are these other criteria, and that contribute to this chart. So I could definitely add those in. We could make separate maps too. That's easy enough for me to do. But
I'm,
Just changing the colors might be fast.
Yeah, if you want,
We-
I mean, I don't wanna combine them where we have three phenomena on top of each other, they just get messy.
yeah, we need to, I think we want to err to the side of,
Those two things. Nobody's gonna be looking like, oh, there's canopy on the next block, like you're not gonna see it at that
Well,
level.
I mean, maybe just put it on a different slide so that people aren't trying to connect.
Right,
the two.
right.
So if you say,
We could do
here's the maps, oh, and let's go to this bar chart, there's an inverse relationship, and then go back to the map so people can look at it some more.
Yeah, that's easy for me to just do the same exact map with the canopy and then another one with the impervious. And then separately, though we're gonna have the same bar chart on each one.
I was just saying, just take the bar chart off of it, because that's a really good point that you just made. that
Or you can leave the bar chart, but it's
different-
only the heat islands. It's only showing the heat islands.
Well, you wanna show the inverse relationship between the canopy and the heat islands, like that's an awesome point. So what I would do, so people aren't, like when I was like looking at the whole slide, I was trying to connect the bar
Right.
chart with the graph, with the
Right.
map and be like, oh, what's the place with the most heat islands? But that's not the story that the bar chart is telling. The story that the bar chart is telling is an inverse relationship. So I would just
Well,
put it
that
on a
too.
different slide.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does tell you the story that like what neighborhood has the most heat islands, because if you look at Lower Highlands, you see that the red bar
It's
is
the
at
highest red
100%, and when you look at the map, you see the thing is totally covered with heat islands.
so I think the main thing is that we want to simplify a little bit, simplify the text a little bit and the comparisons so that people's eyes don't glaze over, because you've done so much research that you can, we don't want to inundate them with information that they can't handle. And I think that will help us tell a story about Heat Island, because really it's all about preparing for the future and being concerned enough to do something about it.
Right, and this also isn't meant to be like a scientific study. Like-
Right. Well, even though it is.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you know, you could go much deeper than this, but this is meant to be. Here's an issue. Here are a few pithy graphics to grab your attention. This is an important issue, and here's why.
Can we spend a few minutes? We have to move on to the next item, and I want to spend
Jump in here. So on this map of Heat Island, do you or do you not want this bar chart?
I mean, I would say put it on a different slide, but, or make it a different color, so people aren't trying to draw conclusions that may not be linked.
Okay, I'll do that. And then we'll have a slide of the tree canopy and a slide of the impervious. Is that what you guys are saying?
Not
No,
necessarily.
I don't think so.
I don't think you need that. I think just the heat island is fine. I would define impervious too, because I know what it means now, but I don't think the everyday person knows what impervious means.
Right.
Doesn't let groundwater through. That's the definition.
Doesn't like
So
that.
yes, we can. You can define that in the text.
So like asphalt or
Okay, so we'll make those connections and then we'll do round 2 at the next LSC meeting.
Oh,
Well, it's getting to be summertime. Let's talk a little bit about timing and our interest in getting this in front of the city. I think we do need more work, but what do people think about the timing? If we do this in our June meeting, we won't present it until July.
Yeah, I think you guys did a great amount of work, and I think just these changes, I mean, you already had your practice run presenting it to, I think people are gonna be really interested in this, and it needs to happen soon.
And
Yeah.
and when I don't recall if in the letter or what you were reading you gave a quick, call to action, or I know you said you were attaching a list of things that you could do, but assuming you're just starting that, they may not access that list right away. Could you name 3 simple solutions or things that people can visualize very easily? Just even at the end of that letter, these are straightforward things that you can do to help. And
Okay,
see
I'll do
this
that.
attachment.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like who,
think
what, and how
this
to
is
fix
great.
it.
Yeah, and maybe the top 3 hardest hit residential areas so that there's like a location suggestion for these solutions that
Yeah.
people can easily access.
Yeah, Sophie, I might be asking you for that data, maybe from Joe. If there's anything from DPD on like residential areas or land use.
Okay, I've included what you've said. My idea also was to give these counselors what I just said, like a copy of my little speech, so they would have these numbers. They might be able to understand text better than charts. Is that a good idea or not?
Yes, I think you want to give them a packet. They like to have something that they can refer to and be, educated by.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome work. Thank you for this.
Yeah,
This is
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So, when is our due date for this, for the revised one?
Should we just see how soon we can you can present to the city council? I mean, do you think we
Okay,
can?
hang on. I've got a funeral in California, and then I have another trip to California. So the next 2 weeks are crazy town for me.
Yeah, okay. Sorry to hear that. I mean, about the funeral, not because you're busy. So let's not do it before 2 weeks and see if we can get.
Let me get my calendar.
I think we can work with your schedule.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you, let's just have the understanding that we want to get this information in front of the public at the earliest convenient time.
Okay, is there a council meeting on June 28th?
One thing is, do we want to try to time this with the hottest weather?
It's our 9.
Yeah, that would be great.
You know?
It's here, Cormac.
I don't think we have to worry about that.
Yeah,
July is the hottest month of the year for this area.
we want to be before.
We could work about it.
We gotta get some cooling stations in before the hot weather.
One. I don't want to derail it, but
It's hard to put in a cooling station. I mean, there's a lot of drainage design involved, you know.
Okay, let's not get way late. Is the 28th the city council meeting night?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's plan on doing that one then.
Now, sometimes they go on summer schedule, but at this point, I think that would probably be a council meeting.
The 28th of June?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it needs to be ready in a couple weeks.
All right.
So let's find out,
Another dry run too.
28th. Greg, can you have your stuff ready by the 17th?
Yeah, I can have my stuff ready, yeah. I'll just,
Okay.
Yes.
okay.
Do these heat out, the main heat out?
Okay. Are we done?
Baskets and stuff with a ton of refrigeration, it's trying to create.
Oh, are we done?
Which.
Oh, the 28th, I can't do.
I'm sure that's a contributor.
Okay. So what's the next meeting? The next week?
The next meeting, is it every other week, every other
It's more about
Tuesday?
surfaces, though, impervious surfaces and reflectivity than it is gases being exhausted into the
So
atmosphere.
what's that? 28th is,
Yeah.
so we're not doing it's every other Tuesday that the city council meets, right?
No, they meet every
We
Tuesday.
meet every Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not in the summer. That's the point.
okay. Oh,
Flag Day?
then next one is July 5th, which, I don't know, people are on vacation.
Okay, so the next week is the 12th. How about you, Greg? And can you come to that?
July 12th?
Yeah.
July 12th, Tuesday.
Yeah,
Okay.
So are we putting down a range? We've got June 27th. 28th, I mean.
No.
June
Greg-
28th doesn't work for Greg.
Oh, okay.
So it's July 12th, that's the day.
7/12. Okay.
Okay.
Great
I'm
job.
I'm all done. Are you guys done with me?
No, but we thank you anyway.
Thank you, Wynn. Thank
Yeah,
you, team.
this is awesome.
Really nice job.
Very
Yeah,
good,
thank you.
Christina. Thank you.
Thank you. I put in a link to what they're doing with Heat Island in Chelsea.
Did everyone say hi to April yet?
No.
Hi, April. Hi, Mary.
April, if you
April
can
and
hear us, welcome to the meeting. April works at the recycling office.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
April,
Yeah.
I think I met you, right? Yes. Oh, hi.
Believe so. Maybe I can't see everybody that well.
I have 2 Aprils. Why is that?
Because I tried to do it on my work computer and there were issues, and then it never logged me out. So
Oh,
yeah.
Welcome
Who knows?
to our meetings. We're happy you're here.
I know. I'm very excited to learn more.
Well, you probably learned a bunch about heat islands, so
I suppose it's a little late for us to do an introduction, but we could do a quick round.
sure. I'm Michaela. I met you earlier this week. Thank you for my earth machine composting thing that I love. And yeah, I told you about myself already.
I'm Carolyn McCarthy. Currently work for the UMass Lowell Climate Change Initiative, and I've been a part of the council for about 2 years. Moving on 2 years.
And Cormac Hondas McCarthy. I work for Fleer and Lobster Lift. And I've been on the council for 3 years, something like that. So, and I think I met you. I had the broken recycling bins.
I'm Jay Mason. I'm the chair of the council. I'm so happy to have you join us. Please let us know any questions or ideas that you have. Don't just be on the sidelines. We love your input.
Hi, I'm Sophie Mortimer. I am the neighborhood planner from the Department of Planning and Development for the City of Lowell. I'm here to be a liaison between the LSC and any resources that I can help to provide for the committee, and I take the minutes and do some other administrative stuff, but happy to have you here.
It was nice to meet everybody. Thank you.
Our next agenda item is the climate change simulation. Carolyn McCarthy, would you be so kind?
Yeah, so I don't know if I can. So my background is black. So we're thinking about what types of activities we could do at the summit in the fall. And there is a simulation that I have experience running that is fun, it's really engaging, and it's based in a computer simulation model that is currently used by politicians, U.S. politicians at the federal, state, and state levels to make decisions on climate change solutions. So backed in real data, it's a really fun activity and accessible to, I've run it with middle school students, high school students, and again, with politicians and leaders of businesses. So I would love to take 10 to 15 minutes to show you the tool itself. And this is not going to be me lecturing at you. It's going to be me fielding some of your ideas and implementing them in the model. And then maybe we can discuss afterwards if this is something we think would be great for the summit, right? That's kind of our purpose.
Yes.
So I'm going to share my screen. And I'll just start by saying, again, this is a simulation. It's a group role-playing game to explore solutions for mitigating climate change. So it has the best available science. It's brought together in a computer simulation model. It's something along the lines of 48,000 equations that are in this model. So another a lot of computing going on behind the scenes. And then an overlay to this model is the fact that we're running a mock UN summit. So the people who are part of this simulation play global leaders from sectors across business, government, civil society, and they're gathered at this emergency climate summit and they need to create a plan to limit global warming to less than 2 degrees Celsius, ideally 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. And as you know, those numbers are taken from the Paris Climate Agreement. So these are internationally agreed upon numbers that by the end of the year, by the end of 2100, we cannot allow for the planet to heat above those. So the way that it works is folks are briefed. So we have different teams. For example, I'll just show you. There is the conventional energy team. So they receive a briefing statement that will tell them who they represent. So this is the fossil fuel industry. And it'll tell them, for example, let's just look here for a second. You want to oppose a high carbon price. You want to oppose taxes on fossil fuels. But what you are supportive of in this simulation is you should propose new technologies like carbon removal or biofuels and things like that. So those are the contents of the briefing statement, long short. So we have the conventional energy group, we have the clean tech sector, which are leaders in all of these renewable energy sources and storage, etc. Industry and commerce, so these are the largest energy consuming corporations in the world. We have the land, agriculture, and forestry group. There are the climate justice hawks, so the leading environmental nonprofits, youth movements, etc. And then we also have world governments. This could also be split up depending on how many people there are into developed countries, rapidly developing countries, and other developing nations. So they receive these briefing statements, this is who you need to play, and then they're welcomed into the summit where someone, for example, me, I would play the Secretary General of the UN, say, welcome, we have a problem on our hands, here's the science, I'm not going to go through all of that background, here's the science and here's what you need to do. And it's at that point that we go to the En-ROADS model, which is what you're looking at right here. And so here's the interface of the model, a quick orientation. You can see on the top left-hand corner, you have the global sources of primary energy. So this is the timeline from the year 2000 to the present. So that's historical data there. Can't go back in time, can't change that. You can also kind of see the blip from COVID there, if you're interested in that. And then from 2022 forward, it's all, subject to, these are based on projections. If we don't make any changes in our current policies, this is what we can expect to see in terms of, primary energy mix going into the future. And so you see that same timeline over here for greenhouse gas emissions. So the emissions which are tied to the energy sources, and we see that it's increasing over time. This gray line here represents zero net emissions. So that's kind of our goal, right? When we talk about net zero, it's bringing emissions down to that gray line. And then finally in the top right-hand corner, which I don't know if you can see, here is the temperature outcome. So it's right now, if we don't take any changes, even with our current policies in place, we are expected to live in a world that's 3.6 degrees Celsius hotter than it was before the Industrial Revolution. When we say in pre-industrial times, we're talking about 1850 as like a benchmark. And obviously we don't want this to happen. So here are the solutions that you have that we can test in the models. And so I'm going to just give you a very quick overview of these 18 sliders that you can explore and implement. We can see the real-time feedback of what impact it would have on the energy mix, emissions, and temperature. And so just be ready. I'm going to go through this kind of quickly, and then I'm going to open it up to the group. Which of these solutions do you think are the highest leverage? Which ones do you think are going to get us to this 2-degree, ideally 1.5 degree outcome in the year 2100? Or which things are you really familiar with? You're just kind of curious to see what the global impact would be. This is a global model. So the first 8 solutions that you can choose from are in the energy supply category. So we can start with coal here. So if you choose to take this slider and move it to the left, you are discouraging coal in this energy mix in this future. And the mechanism would be through a tax. So you can see, we have this very high level, we have highly taxed, very highly taxed. These are all tied to specific numbers that are underneath the model, but for simplicity purposes, we're just going to keep it at this level for now. If you are interested in going deeper into the model, we can explore it here. So instead of just, highly taxed, where it's $10 per TCE, for example. But a quick thing that you'll notice is if you're looking at this graph here, we have coal, which is in brown, as soon as I slide this to the left, what's happening in the model? We can already see that in the future, let's see, starting around maybe 2030, it's having an impact, closer to 2040, that we're changing that energy mix in the future. So immediate feedback in the model as soon as you're sliding it. If you want to encourage coal in this mix for whatever reason, maybe your fossil fuel industry, you can move this slider to the right, and that will be subsidizing this form of energy. You can make those same decisions for oil, for our transportation system, for natural gas, for bioenergy, for renewables, which here is referring to solar panels, wind turbines, and what am I missing? Solar, wind, hydro. Thank you. You can make the same decisions for nuclear energy here, so building more, investing more, creating more infrastructure for nuclear power, or discouraging new infrastructure. This zero carbon slider is basically assuming maybe you're a big tech person and you say, yeah, well, there are such things as, I don't know, nuclear fusion or thorium-based nuclear fission, and what would it look like if there were to be a huge breakthrough? It was brought to scale, a global scale. Today was a breakthrough. You will be able to test that out, and it would show up on this graph here in this orange color if you chose that. The last solution or lever that you can play with is a carbon price, which makes coal, oil, and natural gas more expensive based on how bad of a polluter it is. So we know coal is dirtier, for example, than natural gas. So that would be taxed at a slightly higher rate. But moving this one carbon price slider, which again, if we go deeper, we can put actual numbers, $50 per ton of CO2, for example, that is going to basically push down on these three sources. Any questions for the energy supply category before I move on? I know I'm going at a fast pace right now. I got 10 minutes. So you can make decisions in transport as well as buildings and industry to make both of those sectors more energy efficient, or you could electrify those sectors. So this is energy efficient vehicles, or just making public transportation systems more energy efficient, for example, electrifying the system, better insulation in your homes, LED light bulbs, et cetera, in terms of energy efficiency and electrification of buildings and industry. We do have these growth sliders. I like to treat these as assumptions. What would happen if the rate of population growth, this is looking at the birth rate, by the way, what would happen if, for example, we invested in access to family planning globally and gave education to women and girls globally? There would be a lower birth rate. So what would that future look like? Or what would happen if there were a massive unexpected pandemic and economic growth actually slowed a little bit? You can try out those different assumptions here. And then lastly, on the right-hand side, and I don't know if we can shorten our visual display so that we can see those whose computer it's on. But these last decisions that you have, thank you, Sophie, have to do with land and industry emissions. So you can choose to, I think it's, if you just put the little, right there. Thank you. So if you want to prevent deforestation, then you can move this slider to the left. Same thing for afforestation. If you want to restore forests or plant new trees where they weren't before, maybe we take a comprehensive heat island, initiative globally. What would that look like? That would be there. And then we have methane and all of the other gases. So, as you know, all of these other sliders are mostly impacting carbon dioxide, right? So if you want to look at methane or the F gases or any other type of, industry-related nitrous oxide, agriculture-related, you can go into this slider here. And then the last slider you can choose from is technological carbon removal. So we know that, right now the planet, the only ways that we're sequestering or taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere is through our trees and through photosynthesis as well as our oceans. This is basically assuming that we're able to scale technology, man-made technologies that will be able to do that job efficiently for us, which there are technologies available. They're not necessarily at scale. They're incredibly expensive at this point. So just a little warning, but that's what that slider means. So let's test it out. Does anybody have a slider that they think is either, going to get us really close to that 2-degree goal, or are there any sliders that you're just interested in seeing the impact of? You've heard a lot about something and you want to see what it looks like globally.
Carbon price. Population,
Population, Candace, what do you want me to do?
make it go down.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
All right, so I'm just going to.
Ouch.
So
I'm just curious. Like, I'm
We'll
trying
need
to
a plague.
yeah. Well, no, we're not looking at. Ooh, I've had crazy things from students at UMass Lowell this semester. We're not looking at death rate. We're looking at birth rate for this population. Right. Yes. So let's go ahead. We're going to crazy.
Yeah, I'm not talking about killing people.
Yeah, no, unimaginable though. You're not, but other people do. So I'm going to do this here. I'm actually going to do population by region. Okay, so before I do this, I'm going to slide this lever all the way to the left. So this is the lowest projected range that the United Nations has basically said is possible if we were to implement all of those policies. How much, Candace, just simulate in your head, how much of a temperature change do you think it's going to cause here? You think it's going to get to, 3 degrees, 3 point something?
No, I don't think it's going to be that high. Maybe 1 degree.
Okay, so 0.1 degree, I think you're saying? 0.1, so like for...
I guess so, yeah.
Or 1 degree. Okay, let's see. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. I am expanding access to women's education, family planning globally. We're shifting to smaller families, and population growth is slowing. So let's go ahead and replay that last change. We went from 10.9 billion people in the year 2100 to 9.1 billion, and we have moved 0.2 degrees Celsius closer to our goal. I just want to...
And starting to flatten the curve.
And starting to flatten, yeah, so we're starting to flatten and plateau that curve. One thing I do, do you notice which regions are most impacted by this policy?
No, how do we tell that?
Bottom right-hand corner, that blue is other developing nations. This light blue is India, and this yellow is China. Yep, and we'll do this one more time. We basically see that this has the highest impact on other developing nations, right? And, the way that I would explain this, I would do this more naturally if I were working with a group, but, why didn't this have the impact that some people expected? Well, if we're looking at which areas of the world have the highest consumption rates, we're not going to be able to, decrease population in developing nations who don't have high per capita consumption, right? That's not going to be able to make massive shifts in energy use. I would love personally to be able to see if we could change consumption rates in developed nations, how much of, a relative impact that would have. But let's move on. I'd love to get a couple other sliders in there. What do we want to do?
Methane and other gases?
All right, specific, would you like to look at just on a whole if we were to move that slider? Or do you want to look at specifically agricultural and waste emissions, energy and industry emissions?
What's the other one?
Other greenhouse gas. So this is basically getting
Or
more
just the
specific.
Agricultural.
Okay. So we're now shifting.
I guess other people can have a voice in this too.
Yeah, I agree. So this is this saying if a lot of people stop eating meat?
Yes. So this is saying we're shifting to plant-based diets, for example, and also we're moving away from farming practices that rely heavily on fertilizers and nitrous oxide-based fertilizers. So shifting to more local farms, moving away from monoculture. So here we go. So we're decreasing agricultural and waste emissions, methane and nitrous oxide by 25. Let's go to 50% just to see.
It doesn't do anything.
Let's see. 3,
Oh,
2,
one.
1.
So
Okay.
it's slower on this one though.
So
It's a smaller scale.
So
let's replay.
let's kill people.
3. We
No,
moved
she didn't do the whole scale.
0.1 degrees Celsius closer. If we reduce if 50% of the planet switched to plant-based diets, let's say,
Okay.
for example, I know this is not, whatever, but I don't mind being scientifically
Plants.
incorrect to provide an image. So we move an entire 0.1 degrees Celsius with just that one shift
What
in
if we did
agricultural.
75%?
75, let's do it. 75, 3, 2, 1.
That means I have to do it.
Ooh.
So what's the that's by 2100.
Oh, wow.
This is saying that if you look at this graph here, this is starting to take an impact. It's starting to deviate from the baseline around
Yeah.
2025. So that's 3 years. It's starting to deviate.
Because they don't really last in the atmosphere very, very long.
Right. It has a life time of like 10 years.
Right.
Methane. Yep. Versus carbon dioxide, which is what 200 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So it has a pretty immediate impact for that specific greenhouse gas. All right, we've made progress. We've gone from 3.6 to 3.3. What else can we do?
We can put that one back to 50% because I think that 75 would probably be a little aggressive.
Okay.
Let's look at energy efficiency.
All right. In buildings or in transportation?
Buildings.
Buildings. Okay, let's go for it. So let's go ahead and make our buildings more energy efficient. This is of new buildings and new industrial buildings. So this is residential and industry. Let's go ahead. We're at 3.3. We're increasing the energy efficiency, better appliances, more efficient
Wow.
machines,
Big deal.
better insulation in homes.
This is
How far should I go? This is only buildings,
Only
energy
new
efficiency.
Stop at 4.
Boom. Wow.
It's like a small change, but it's a big change in degrees. Like it's a small change.
Right. So
because
this.
it hits all of the other forms of energy, coal.
Yeah.
Because we're using it for some
Yep.
electricity.
It's
Yep,
a bigger
true.
scope than just methane, which is a smaller slice of the
Sure.
appetite.
Right. And if you look at the graph on the left, if anybody has a Mac plugin, I could really. I'm starting. Or an outlet.
Sorry.
But if you look at think of the top of that graph, even though it's split up into the different colors, if you think of the top of that graph as demand, we've basically just cut out the need for energy starting 2040 is when we start to really see the impact of that.
Yeah.
So it takes, 15-ish years to have an impact, but we just flatlined the need for sources for the remainder of this century. 0.3 degrees Celsius closer.
This is 4% per year. It said.
I hate to interrupt. I'm gonna Google this so I can play with it on my own because I think it's just fun, kind of. I have to take off. I'm sorry. I have to take off.
4% per year. Yeah, it's compounding.
So. But it's realistic. You've already played with all of this.
Oh yeah. But
You already know the answers of how to get there.
I know all the answers,
What's the
Cormac.
best one?
So, I don't know. What did we discover from the three that we already played with?
We haven't done carbon price yet.
We haven't done a carbon price. Yep. We haven't looked at investing in renewables. We haven't put a price on fossil fuels. We haven't even touched transport.
Has to be the next one. Between that and electrification.
Okay, so let's go ahead then.
But I think that we have to
But it's
do.
renewables plus electric.
But I think that realistically though, economic growth has to increase.
Well, it's probably assumed that it is.
Yes.
increasing.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the rate of that economic growth, right?
Here, do you want?
If there's an extension cord that we great, I can do that after this one. But what if we were to, did you say increase renewables?
Yeah.
Okay.
that's-
Okay, fabulous.
Wait,
This is going to be a percent per year, I assume, right?
I don't know what this is plugged into. I don't want to.
Per kilowatt.
So the text that the city.
$1 per
you can just
kilowatt.
Scroll down.
Okay. On the move. Sorry, folks.
Oh, there's one behind Cormac too.
No.
Oh, just kidding. That's not an outlet.
Sure.
I have to leave right at 8 too. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll take one or two more suggestions then, so
if we look at, energy efficient, increasing renewables.
Yeah.
Here we go. So, how far should I push it?
Like midway.
Okay, so here we go, more solar panels, more wind turbines, more hydropower. So this is-
This doesn't do anything.
Now you have to go to plant-based. Jim.
Yeah, wait a second, what's happening here?
Yes.
We didn't have much of an
There was
impact.
like, there's 0.2 Fahrenheit.
Why is that happening?
Do we need to also
Because
add
it's not necessarily
electrification?
that we're increasing the production of it, right?
It's subsidized.
It's subsidized, it's not necessarily increasing the production of it.
Well,
Oh, but is there an assumption that like because you're building renewables that you're removing non-renewables?
that's a good question, Greg. No, that is not.
Just add.
Right, exactly. So just because you add renewables doesn't take away the fact that we still have fossil fuel plants operating.
Right, so we'd have to increase the transport and the building's
So-
electrification.
So if you look at the timeline, we're still, for the next however many years, even until, 2050, mid-century, the dominant sources of energy are still fossil fuels. We haven't actually put downward pressure on them. We've just started to slightly increase renewables. And the other thing with renewables we don't talk about a lot is that we just subsidize energy. So what happens when energy becomes cheaper?
People use more of it.
Right, so we have the cost of energy that just decreased, and then if we look at energy consumption, if I compare this,
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to see a carbon price, because I think that's gonna have a downward effect on coal, oil, and natural gas.
alright, let's do a carbon price then.
Well, we're not necessarily.
Jay, do you have a price?
to do that.
Do you have a price?
Do you have a price, an ideal number?
What is good, $25 to start?
$25 in the $25 is given in the briefing statements, the fossil fuel industry does not allow a carbon price higher than 25.
Interesting.
So that's something that they accept versus, climate justice hawks are told something $50, and higher. So it's whatever you want
It's
to.
very easy on them.
Well, then
Yeah.
50 would be my preference.
Alright, let's go
As
with
a climate hawk.
that. Alright, so, which is what we are, right? So before I listed the mix, how far do you think this is gonna get us? We're at 3 degrees now, we've moved.
0.5. So.
0.5?
0.5.
Go for it.
Any other? 0.5?
Let's say 0.1.
Alright, so, 0.1?
0.2.
0.2. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That was a good one, Jay.
Right in there.
So if we look at the blue
So
and
renewable.
Oh, that did actually do a lot.
oil and the coal, we're mostly seeing a big shift here in the coal and natural gas.
Oh, I see it.
Oil.
And the
Well, oil,
renewables
yes,
Do you want
really.
to do something about oil before we end this meeting soon? Do
We-
you want to target oil? How can we do that? What sector is oil tied to?
It's just transport, right?
Transport.
Transport.
But-
Yeah, touch.
But so Jay, that last one actually increased our renewables a lot.
But
Yes, right. It allowed up more space
Yeah.
in the market for
it
renewables.
had to fill the void that was
Right.
taken by the fossil.
Right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, do we want to invest in more energy efficient vehicles and systems, or do you want to electrify?
Electrify.
Yeah.
Let's electrify.
Electrify, okay, awesome, so let's go ahead.
What about those of you on Zoom?
Yeah, people who are on Zoom, any other suggestions?
You want to put them in the chat?
No.
You get copy of this and play Google and those things. Yep, and I'll send a link to this scenario right after I implement this one, so here's our last decision.
So I think we should just go to 75% on this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we have to get to 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, we're 0.7 away.
Okay, let's do
Are we
it.
doing enough?
Let's do, what, 75? We have to
Well, we have to
also,
go, we have to
we
go
have
to
to
100.
phase out
Oh,
all
yeah.
the old
Maybe-
cars.
Maybe 90%.
No, you have to phase out all the old cars. Like, you can't take all the old cars off the road.
So
Yeah, they could be
what
electrified.
percentage of new transport do we think is,
This is of the entire scale.
Prices of
though.
new transport.
Oh, it's new, okay, so it's 75, like 90. Yeah,
There'll be some stuff that's too
90%,
difficult.
alright, here we go, 3, 2, 1.
Ouch.
That was good,
Hey,
No.
that was good.
let's look at the oil.
The carbon pricing did more.
Yep, oil went down and coal went on.
We have the,
One more thing I didn't point to with the carbon
Yes.
price, and then I can bring this to a close, is considering we just put a tax, this is a global tax, because it's a global model. Another thing that we've done, we have basic cost of energy, so that's efficient for folks who are already experiencing, energy burden,
Yeah.
right? But what we also did was we brought in some revenue, right? So if we look at, for
Yeah.
example, in 10 years from now, when the carbon price sees its full effect, which we kind of said, so it's not so aggressive, it'll take 10 years to reach that whole price of $50 per ton of CO2. We can revenue, revenue from taxes in the spray in 10 years is $1.7 trillion every year.
wow, that's nice.
So we could use that money from the carbon tax to support people's driving with energy burden or invest in other programs and technologies and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We have this
Okay.
money
I want to take 5 minutes and talk about the summit a little bit from a
This is
different angle.
so great though, I
Yes.
love this.
And great job for going through this
Yeah,
all.
thank
You did
you.
a great job proctoring it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so much fun, yeah.
When you're in roles, it's even more fun because you have people who step up and say,
Yeah.
I represent the fossil fuel industry, and then you have people yelling in the back.
No, this is like great conversation too. It's like a good
Yeah, I think this would be,
conversation starter.
this would be good for this
So we
one.
have, how we had the tables last time where it's like GMA, this table, whatever. We could have tables where people are
The fossil fuel.
fossil fuel,
Yeah.
yeah, and people have to pick.
Agricultural.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
That sounds neat.
And they have to agree on stuff.
I don't think we have
We
room
love
for 18 tables, but we could figure something.
Well, I think there's only six.
Yeah,
Six.
okay.
6.
to 8.
Yeah. This is great. I love this.
Yeah.
It's fun, right?
Great idea.
Yeah, it gets students talking, it gets
Jay,
everybody
Jay
talking.
got the big one at 0.3.
That carbon tax.
Well, that was, I think, easy pickings.
No, mine was 0.3 too.
Great job.
Energy efficiency.
Thank you, Sophie.
We have to do both.
We have to do all
We have to do both. But I just wanted to point out that also at the summit, we have an opportunity to bring in some young people and get them competing against each other across the city to have the best, most actionable plan for reducing climate change.
of it. Mm-hmm.
The Youth and Climate Change Program has put together it's called Series 3.0. It's a list of 16 topics from energy efficiency to weatherization, looking at heat island effect. I mean, the whole range of different topics is available to them in a paper that we put together as this group, and each topic has resources and ideas and details that the kids can look into. So we tried this at the we did our first introductory step at the Civics Day, which is that's where Cormac was at Civics Day, and there was interest in pollution and interest in what was it?
Specifically on the climate side?
Pollution and littering. They were very interested in those topics. So they did presentations. There was a whole range of presentations at Civics Day, but specific to our program, there were those two. And we hope to get more by introducing a competition to be held at the summit. So we could have them compete through the summer and be judged at the summit and or do presentations at the summit. And I have this is the competition.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
I don't have the backup document that goes with this.
Thank you.
There's 18 topics. I'm sorry, 16 topics. So you can select topic number 2, impacts of climate change. here you have lots of latitude. You can decide how to research. You can decide to research how litter and or pollution affects our community, as they did at Civics Day, and plan it and describe ways that our city can reduce litter by getting neighbors together and doing cleanups or having block parties to build awareness. So trying to get creative ideas out there across the city by making these introductions to these different topics. You could select topic number 7 is green jobs. You could explore how jobs in wind energy, for example, are making a difference. Perhaps organize a mini job fair with a local company to promote awareness of these careers. So there's opportunity across the whole range of topics for young people to take on challenges and compete for a cash prize. That's the kicker is we have some budget, so we can we do. The Youth and Climate Change Action Program has a budget, so we can offer a $500 prize for first place. We can offer $250 for second place. We can even offer a couple of $100 prizes for runners up.
Yeah, and is that as a reward to the individual, or is that kind of like a way to have folks in the room that can provide like seed funding almost to make it implementable?
Exactly. It would be money to help implement the idea, right? I mean, they could use it the way they see fit, but they have to write a plan, and the plan that competes and the most favorably is going to get the most attention. Excuse me.
What would be cool is to also have a People's Choice one.
Yeah.
To,
Absolutely.
To get the people that are there that aren't. So who would be the judges?
I think the Sustainability Council.
Yeah, and so then we could have a People's Choice for the other people that are there to be able to vote, and so then.
That's a good idea.
You know.
So the question is, should we think about doing this, and can we work this into the simulation at the same time? You know, if we do a simulation, we can also have time to do the presentation of these programs. And I'm torn because I don't know if it makes more sense to have the presentation of, you know, what we did at Leeds was we had 10 minutes that we had to present our topic. We presented our Youth and Climate Change Action Group, and we presented what we wanted to do and why we deserve to get some funding. And we were able to get funding awarded to us because of our presentation. We could do the same thing with the young people. We could say, you know, we'll have, you know, 6 or 8 different, well, maybe that's too many, but 4 or 5 presentations, and we'll, you know, vote on what to who to fund.
What if we did a first round, so we have an application due date that's, you know, whatever, a month
That's a good
months
idea.
before the summit.
Yeah.
We pick our top 3 favorite, or I don't know, I'm just making numbers.
Yeah.
Top 3 favorites, we provide them feedback, we invite them to the summit and say, you're up for this, you know, whatever, we'd like to present 3-minute presentation or 5-minute, and that way it only takes 15 to 20 minutes of the entire summit time. Gives us you know, a moment. We might already have an idea ahead of time of which ones we think might be, you know, it'd give us enough time basically to make a decision.
And then
Announce it.
the thing we could do next after that is celebrate the award at a city council meeting. So we could come out of the summit with a victory, and then present those groups with an award at city council.
It'd be cool if we could also, if it was still a small fund, to have them present it again at the city council.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that like they would be on TV in Lowell in front of the city council, and then it would be that much more likely to maybe have city council members be like, how can we support these guys?
Yeah.
And like actually create action plans from it.
And we can invite some counselors to the
Yeah,
summit.
yeah,
Or
definitely.
or-
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I gotta go, sorry.
Thanks. Good seeing you. Take care.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
let's
I think
continue
those
our
two things, I think
our
that's-
planning along those
I think
lines.
that's kind of the summit.
Yeah, I think that's
I think that's those are two like exciting, engaging things.
and I like it that they take us out of our own element and
Of presenting what we've done, kind of
Right.
You know,
right.
what we've been
It,
working on.
it's embracing what the public is doing.
Yep, totally.
I think we want to go in that direction. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the simulation?
No, except that through your help with the Youth Climate, I always get the title mixed up.
Youth and Climate Change Action.
Youth and Climate Change Action Group. I will be bringing En-ROADS to Lowell High School for a couple classes this June, so in
That's
a couple
great.
weeks. And
Cool.
so I've co-developed a curriculum that's 6 modules for high schoolers that brings them through, the climate causes, climate impacts, running this simulation, and then an action project at the end. So that's also a possible way, maybe if you want to, the project at the end is how can you reduce 10,000 pounds of CO2 in 10 weeks? But there's a whole structure with criteria and evaluation and all this that's already kind of built up. If you wanted to take a look at it and,
That sounds great.
it could complement, I think, what you have here.
Okay.
Wow,
And
that's really cool.
do some of the work of some of the
So
evaluation.
when is that?
I am still working with a high school educator, but I think it's either June 14th or 15th, Thursday or Friday.
Can
And
you keep me posted? I'll
for sure,
like to try to participate.
for sure, yeah.
That'd be nice. Great. Well, I think that about wraps up our program. Are there any new business comments and upcoming events? When is there anything going on at 350 this week?
I think we're doing some tabling at the Acre Fest on June 11th.
Okay.
I think that is the only thing that's on our plate. I mean, we've been doing climate cafes. Those have been very interesting. Are
I
you
think-
familiar with the climate cafe?
Yes. How would someone get involved if they wanted to participate?
Just get on Lowell's email list or send me your information. I'll get you on the email list, and then you'll get an automatic email. It's once a month, and it's a place where you can talk about your issues around climate change. It's a place to talk with like-minded people. There's a lot of people bring up stuff to do. There's hope. It's very realistic. So we can also, it's a place where we can maybe be negative. Sometimes you don't have a place to be negative. And if you can be negative, then also we help walk you through it. Now we've had people from Colorado, Bahamas, they're coming from all over.
That sounds great. Anybody else?
I think, I don't know if everybody knows, but I think the Lowell Pride event is June 4th in Lowell. So Mo will be one of the food trucks there.
Nice, nice.
So-
You know where?
I'm not sure if it's at like the Lowell Riverwalk. I'm not sure where that necessarily is. I'm not sure if it's like Jacket
We,
Riverwalk.
350 was gonna do that, but we ran out of people.
I think it might be at Kerouac.
I think it's at Kerouac Park, yeah.
I can verify that though.
Have we talked about tabling at the folk festival?
Oh, we did talk about it.
I'm happy to support tabling at the folk festival. I don't know.
We just need to put together a schedule. I would be happy to participate.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
if we can just do a timeline, if you can coordinate the placing of people on that schedule.
I can do that.
You know,
An Excel,
Yeah,
when people are going to be there.
exactly.
Yep.
I probably have one I can send you.
And then do we need to contact, I'm guessing we have to contact, I don't know, Sophie, if this is where you come in, to request a table or a specific spot?
I think the best people to talk to would probably be the Department of Cultural Affairs
Okay.
and Special Events.
Okay.
And you should be able to find all of their contact information on the website.
Okay.
If not, you can always email me and I can direct you to them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Is there anybody on on Zoom that would like to participate with us in the folk festival?
I've been deep into climate, so I haven't been working on my Haiti stuff, and my Haiti project is starting to gear up. So I might have to step back a little. I'll still do Urban Heat Island, come to meetings, but I can't be maybe as active as I would like to.
Okay. All right, well, maybe we do one day.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you can put me down.
Okay.
I can do a 2-hour stint.
Fab.
And people are free to join in. You don't need to make an appointment.
Great. If
All right.
anybody else has anything to share, actually, I have a couple of events. I obviously don't know where all of you reside, but it doesn't necessarily matter. So DPD is doing some community engagement events in Cambodia Town over the summer because we have some grant funding to make some improvements. It kind of started as like a mobility project to make it easier for people to walk and bike around the neighborhood because the sidewalks are in rough shape and there's some issues with traffic, but it's kind of become an overall project of like just how to develop Cambodia Town because it's sort of been neglected over a long period of time and it has a lot of like historical and cultural significance in Lowell, and so we really want the space to reflect that. And then secondly, we're also doing some community outreach events in the South Common Park. So there's going to be some developments there this summer, including doing some irrigation work in the like large grassy field that's surrounded by the track, and creating some ADA accessible walking paths and some new signage. And so we're going to be applying for more grant funding to do more work next summer. And so we're going to be asking people about what they think we should do in the space.
This is tied in with the transportation planning of the Lord Overpass and the stretch of
Not necessarily, but a lot of it does kind of
just happens to be
overlaps. Yeah. So I can send the group the flyers and all of the information for those.
Sure.
We have a couple of surveys to fill out that are available online or in person if you come to those events.
Yeah, so if you can, on both of those initiatives, can you send those?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Sure thing.
Because I'm interested in both of those.
Great.
The other thing is, I believe, just because it's sort of right down the street from me, it looks like the National Grid pipeline is under construction right now. So that's just a heads up. They put a very nondescript sign at the end of the street that was like this is the way or something, like for the construction people to know where to go, not necessarily like
not to
draw any attention as to what they're doing. But
That's too bad.
so
Well, we gave it a good effort.
yeah. Hopefully they'll think twice about doing the next one.
I think that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's it for this week.